let's go to the hotline. And let's bring in the Hall of Fame voice of Texas high school football, the Hall of Fame voice of the Texas Longhorns. You can hear him on the Horn in Austin every weekday, and you can see him co-host High School Scoreboard Live alongside Rick Renner and myself. He's the great Craig White. Craig, how are you, my friend?
Are you a chocolate milk drinker?
I enjoy myself a little bit of chocolate milk from time to time.
I bet Hank would be on board with that.
He probably. So I don't know if Hank's ever. Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if Hank's ever had chocolate milk.
What?
I don't know.
What kind of parenting is that?
All right.
Oh.
All right. There's three people in this conversation. Two of us have kids, and the one is giving us parenting advice.
Yes.
That's interesting.
I just walked into a room and dropped a little stink bomb and walked right out.
You stepped on the hornet's nest and ran. My goodness. It's Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, joining us here on Texas Football Today. All right, Craig. It seems to me that this time of year, and maybe it's just because we're getting into district play, or maybe it's just because this is the way that contenders look, it seems to me that this time of year we always start talking about defenses. We always start talking about absolutely dominant defenses as kind of separating the contenders from the so-called pretenders. And I am interested in why you think that is, even though it kind of goes against what we think, which is offenses take a little bit more time, a little bit more seasoning to get going, and yet the defenses are the ones that are winning these critical district games. I look at Windthorst and Munster as a perfect example, or Lubbock Cooper's win over Wichita Falls Rider. Do you have a theory on why that is, or is it just a matter of great teams have great defenses, that's the end of it?
Well, you can start from that baseline, and then I think there's a couple other things at heart. And talking with some high school coaches this week and in some prior weeks, the vibe I get is part of the reason that the defenses have been so good is because there's been, I don't know if it's an elevated, it's probably a regular amount of injuries to key offensive players. And when that happens, you're going to see defensive players and defensive units step up. Now, there are notable exceptions. I mean, obviously, in the case of Westlake, Kate Klubnik goes out with an injury, and there's no trouble. They just pick up right where they left off and go on from there. But there are teams who are heavily reliant on, say, a running back or a quarterback or a key receiver, and if that guy gets injured, it slows down the offense, and then the other team ramps up its defense. That's unless you have a rash of injuries on the defensive side of the football. But I think we do see a little bit of it more in weeks 7, 8, 9, and 10. Sometimes coaches, for precautionary reasons, are going to hold a player or two out for an extra week or so until they get to the playoffs when they really need them. So, and then, as you know, Tep, sometimes we see electric craziness happen with offensive point productions in by-district and area games. Some of that also is controlled environment. Get inside a dome. And, because coaches are trying to get away from the weather. And once the weather turns. And so they get in there and all of a sudden the points start lighting up the scoreboard. So I think it's kind of a trickle down, but it is all connected with why defenses might be playing better now. And then come the postseason, offenses kind of resume their position of putting up lots of points.
So the other thing about this time of year, because we are we're into week 9, and we are, believe it or not, at the exact midway point of the season. We are as close to week 1 as we are to the state championships at AT&T Stadium. But one of the things that I think is really remarkable about this time of year is that we maybe take our eye off of the normal games that we would be paying attention to and start focusing a little bit more on the edges and start focusing. Let's put it this way. Everyone's looking forward to Lake Travis and Westlake. I think that's in week 11. Everyone's excited about getting the Battle of the Lakes, et cetera, et cetera. And yet, I would look at a game this week like Del Valle and San Marcos and say, this is the time of year when we start paying as much attention to games like that, which are going to determine like 4th place in a district, as opposed to that. And it seems like this is, maybe it's just the changing of the seasons or whatever it is. But it seems like this is the time of year where maybe we take our eye off of those number 1 seeds who maybe have everything locked down and maybe are just kind of playing out the string till the playoffs, and focus more on, okay, who's going to get in, who's going to be left at home, who's going to be blowing up basketballs on November 10th or whatever.
You know how you like to say that you and I are whatever sick and nerdy and weird about such things.
It's true.
And all of it's true, by the way. To extend your example further, Lake Travis is playing Bowie this week. It's a pretty good matchup. Really is. Pretty good matchup there. But I will tell you that probably there will be more interest focused on the aforementioned San Marcos Del Valle game, because that is a realistic elimination game for the fourth playoff spots. The winner is not necessarily in, and isn't in at the moment, but the loser almost certainly is out. It's kind of like what they say in pro golf. You can't lose a tournament. You can't win a tournament on the first day, but you can lose it. So if whoever loses that game is probably out of the mix, the winner is definitely still in the mix, and the shakeup could further on down the road. Say if Del Valle were to defeat San Marcos has that late season game coming up against Aikens. Aikens is still a factor in it, but Del Valle already owns a win over Aikens. If Del Valle gets in the playoffs, that pushes Bowie to the Division II rank, and the further trickle down means a bi-district matchup between Bowie and Vandegrift. Whereas if, say, San Marcos or Aikens gets in, then Bowie stays in Division I, and it's a different bi-district opponent even for Vandegrift. So there's a trickle down on that. The other thing it leads to, Tep, is what you and I like to go into the crazy, in this case, numerical week 11 that we're talking about, the end of the regular season with all the point differentials and the tiebreaker. I had a dream the other night about points plus tiebreakers. That's how sick I am at this point. I was already dreaming about ceilings of plus 17 and stuff like that. I'm sitting there in a room with people trying to explain points plus tiebreakers. We're getting closer to that time of year, no doubt.
What's sad is that I've had that same dream. It's Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, joining us here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TUESWAYS Today. All right, I'm going to fast forward to a normal topic of conversation that we have on this program, which is I'm gonna offer you 3 games, give you an opportunity to teleport to any of them, to be involved in them, or to get an eye on them. You can teleport to Lucas, Texas, for Frisco and Lucas Lovejoy. You can teleport to, let's say, I guess it's at Freedom Field. I think that's where this game is being played. Freedom Field for Fort Bend Hightower and Katy Pato. Or you can go to Central Texas and watch China Spring and Salado. Which of those 3 would you teleport to?
You know what? If you had added the fourth one and said North Shore and C.E. King, I would have said, how dare you throw all of that at me? It's tough enough with the other 3 as it is. Those are great matchups. Probably pushed into a corner, I'd probably go for Hightower and Pato, because, we've been talking about teams that have a chance to do great damage in the postseason. And just as we just got through commiserating about teams that wind up in the 3rd and 4th spot, when we get a legitimate district championship matchup on our hands for a team, either of the who wins that game, that has an opportunity to go deep in the playoffs, that's where I'm going to lean a lot of times. I love seeing the battles for the 3rd and 4th, but if you got teams that are unbeaten in district play, and in some cases even unbeaten overall, and they're about to go at it, we could see that next week with Dripping Springs and Buda Johnson. They could both be a perfect 8-0 going into it. There's already a lot of talk about that down here in Austin about the possibility of that game next week. So anytime you have one of those matchups, you love to go ahead and pick that if you can, and that's why I would probably lean toward Pato against Hightower.
All right, and now you are, of course, the play-by-play voice of the Texas Longhorns. The Texas Longhorns do not have a game this week. They are on their open date. What does an open date look like for the voice of the Texas Longhorns?
Well, a lot of times it's pretty sedate, Tep. There's a lot of times I'm not doing too much, but just to kind of give you an idea what the rest of the week is like. I had originally decided I was going to take off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week because I wanted to visit my mom who's in assisted living. I wanted to do that. But then one thing gets added and another thing gets added and another thing. And so this is how it breaks down. When we get done I'm going to start driving north to the Metroplex. Linda and I have tickets for James Taylor and Jackson Brown tonight in Fort Worth. So we're going to be at Dickies Arena for that. Tomorrow, as you and Pickle both have done, I'm guest speaking at the sports broadcasting class at North Texas. That had been scheduled for some time. So there's that. I'm actually driving back down here Thursday because we do a special basketball preview show for Longhorn basketball with Chris Beard on Thursday. I'll be back up there to be with you on Friday. And then Saturday's up in the air. Lynn and I are considering one of two options. Either Dodgers-Braves Game 6 in Atlanta, if the Dodgers don't completely fold over and get beat out of that, or New Orleans to see the Doobie Brothers with Michael McDonald. Still fleshing that one out. But, yeah, so that's kind of what the rest of the week may look like.
What a rough life you lead. And if your choices are Game 6 of the NLCS or the Doobie Brothers and Michael McDonald in New Orleans. Okay, and finally, I guess we can probably break a little bit of news here. Actually, I'm going to toss this over to our Texan Live Grand Poobah over there in Ashley Pickle. Pickle, do you have something you want to tell us?
We do. We are extremely excited to announce that both of these gentlemen, Craig Way on play-by-play and Mr. Bowtie over there, Greg Tepper, will be calling a game in Week 11. It'll be Georgetown versus Pflugerville-Weiss on Thursday night, 7 o'clock, I believe, on Texan Live. So both of you making your Texan Live debut.
Wow. Craig, we're finally going to do it. We're gonna call. And Georgetown and Weiss could be a colossal and deeply important game there in Week 11.
Absolutely. It could mean whether Georgetown gets in. It could mean whether they might have a shot at least sharing a district title. It could mean whether Weiss could win a district title outright. They got a big game with Maynard this week on the road. So there's some things hanging out there. So thanks to Pickle for setting that up. Now, forewarned is forearmed. So let's just warn everyone, there's not enough airspace to keep the two of us from shutting up during the course of the game. So we'll do our best to do what we can, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting time. And just to be able to say, the amount of expectoration that's going to go on those windscreens on the microphones to say the field at Pflugerville is just thrilling to think about. So I'm excited about it. It's a great facility, and Todd Raymond and his staff do a fabulous job with the Pflugerville ISD. So they'll welcome us with open arms, and I'm looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to Craig Way making his Texan Live debut November 4th. Make sure you are there for that. He's Craig Way. He's a Texas High School Hall of Famer. You can listen to him on the Horn in Austin, but don't do it anymore. I think he's done for the week. He's going to go. He's gallivanting around Texas. But you can catch him Friday night on Bally Sports Southwest, co-hosting High School Scoreboard Live. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend, and I will see you on Friday.
I'll bring the chocolate milk to the Pflugerville, the field of Pflugerville when we do this.
Thank you, Craig.
Appreciate you, Craig.
All right.
There he goes. Craig White, the Texas High School Hall of Famer, joins us every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today. And yeah, how about that, guys?
So exciting.
We have been able to secure a date for Craig Way. We worked with his people and tried to make this happen. I mean, I don't know about you. I thought the negotiations went well. Mm-hmm. That we're paying a little bit more than we wanted to, but that's what you get for a legend,
right?
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
A Hall of Famer comes with a price tag, of course.
Exactly right. But no, we're excited. It's going to be Craig and I calling Pflugerville Weiss and Georgetown live on Texan Live.
And like he said, shout out to Pflugerville Athletic Director Todd Raymond for letting us jabronis march in there and call a game.
Well, and I'll be entirely honest. Craig has been pretty gung-ho about calling a game on Texan Live. He's wanted to. He mentioned that to me a few weeks ago. He's like, man, I'd love to call a game on Texan Live.
He's like, do you think y'all have room for me? And I was like, you want the red carpet?
Yeah, and so we're excited to have Craig. I mean, because here's the thing. Craig only calls how many? He calls Texas football days, and then he calls
the state championship.
The state championship.
He
only calls about now. Let's say he calls 6 or 7 in the state championship games. Let's say 6 or 7.
He does 7. I think he does some random games throughout the year every now and then, but not on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and so it's a treat to have the voice of Texas high school football.
So excited.
It's going to be calling a game on Texan Live. We're excited about that. We hope you'll tune in there on November 4th. It's Week 11. Pflugerville, Weiss, and Georgetown. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.